All right, today we're diving into a really big idea, something that could fundamentally change how we value information. We're talking about a concept called the Mindshare Matrix Marketplace, or MMM for short. And at its core, it's all about creating an app store, but for knowledge itself. So let's just start with that question. What if expertise, verified data, breakthrough ideas, what if all of that could be packaged, protected, and sold just like the apps on your phone? Imagine needing to get up to speed on a super complex topic, and instead of spending weeks digging through research, you could just download it. And honestly, the best way to get your head around this whole thing is to think about that app store you use every day. It's a trusted place, right? It's a centralized platform where creators can publish their work and we as users can securely access it. The MMF is aiming to do the exact same thing, but for verifiable, high-value knowledge. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into what are called the atoms of meaning, basically the building blocks for how knowledge gets packaged. Then we'll look at how people actually publish that knowledge, and of course, how you and I would consume it. And finally, we'll zoom out and explore the brand new kind of economy this whole system could create. So first things first, before you can even dream of having a marketplace for knowledge, you've got to have a standard way to package it up, right? This is where the really foundational tech comes into play. And that process kicks off with something called Tokumization. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's an automatic process that happens totally privately, right on your own device, and it converts raw info into these standardized little units called tokums. You can think of it like a universal translator, but for ideas. These tokums, well, they're built from even smaller, more fundamental pieces called Canonical Component Identifiers, or CCIs. The source material calls these the atoms of meaning, and I think that's the perfect way to describe them. They're like Lego bricks. You've got these standardized little pieces that can be snapped together to build way more complex things, concepts, reports, analyses, in a way that any system on the network can immediately understand. And this whole thing is just always running, humming away in the background. Your system ingests information. The algorithm then converts it into those standardized tokens. From there, it automatically builds out a knowledge graph for you in your local storage. And then finally, it updates your personal index, making every single piece of that information ready for instant recall. Now, this slide is really, really important because it makes a crucial distinction. Tokumization is not the same thing as publishing to the marketplace, not at all. It's a foundational step that happens locally, automatically, for every single user, no matter if you ever plan to sell a single thing. It's like organizing your own personal library before you even think about lending out any books. Okay, so you've got your knowledge all neatly packaged up into these standard units. But how do you actually get it from your local system into the marketplace? Well, that brings us to the whole publishing process. A lot like Apple's developer program, not just anyone can start publishing. The MMM requires you to be either an enterprise user or a premium subscriber. And this really acts as a quality filter, It creates a baseline of commitment and accountability for everyone who wants to contribute to the marketplace. Now, publishers can contribute two main types of content. The most common is what's called instance data. So think news articles, market analysis, stuff that uses concepts that already exist. This can be pushed directly to the marketplace, no waiting. But the second type is for creating entirely new concepts, brand new CCIs, like a new scientific discovery. And as you can imagine, that requires a formal review to make sure it's technically sound and legally good to go. And for those folks creating totally new concepts, there are two different paths they can take. The enterprise path lets a company create new proprietary concepts just for its own internal use. And then maybe, if they want, they can choose to sell them with full digital rights management, or DRM. The academic path, on the other hand, is all about openness. New concepts get published to the public automatically with no DRM, and the creators get compensated based on how much their work actually gets used. Pretty cool. Okay, we've seen how knowledge gets packaged and published, but what does this all feel like for you, the end user? This is where that idea of instant comprehension comes in, and believe me, it is a total game changer. This here shows the entire ecosystem in action, so let's just follow the flow for a second. Over on the left, you've got the publishers packaging their knowledge and pushing it into the marketplace. The MMM, sitting right there in the middle, handles all the complicated stuff, managing rights, payments, the works. Then, on the right, users like us subscribe and get that comprehension delivered through our own personal interpretive lens. It's a complete, seamless loop from creation all the way to consumption. So let's quickly trace that publisher journey. An organization, say, identifies a really valuable piece of knowledge, like some proprietary market analysis. They apply DRM to protect it, and then push these protected tokums to the marketplace. The MMM then handles all that critical infrastructure, payments, access rights, and boom, the publisher gets a payout. Now for the user experience, which is where things get really, really powerful. You subscribe to the knowledge you need. Instantly, your system just absorbs it. And from that moment on, a feature called the interpretive lens tailors every single answer it gives you. It combines your personal context, your history, your role, your projects, with all that specialized knowledge you've licensed to give you a truly customized and relevant insight. So here it is, the key takeaway, the most crucial point. You never have to search for that licensed report or that expert analysis ever again. The system guarantees 100% that all the relevant authorized information you have access to is always considered when it's generating an answer for you. No more forgetting to check a key source. It's just there, always. So what's the big picture here? What does this all add up to? Well, when you create a functioning marketplace for understanding, you're actually creating an entirely new kind of economy. Let's look at a few examples of what that means. For media companies, this is a totally new model. Instead of just relying on ads or site-wide subscriptions, they can sell individual articles or really deep analyses as high-value, protected assets directly into the systems of the businesses that need them the most. For science, this could accelerate literally everything. Researchers are actually incentivized to share their findings openly and right away because the system automatically tracks usage and pays them for their contributions. It combines all the benefits of open access with a real financial reward for creating valuable knowledge. And for businesses, the advantage is just massive. They can license critical intelligence and specialized expertise and be absolutely certain that this high-value knowledge is automatically integrated into every single relevant decision their team makes. Expertise moves from being some forgotten report on a server to being an active ingredient in their day-to-day operations. And when you boil it all down, it leads to this really profound shift. The whole system is designed to make meaning itself, the very core of understanding a tradable, rights-protected asset. This right here is the foundation of what you could call a true comprehension economy. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. In a world where you can license understanding on just about any topic, where access to verified, contextual knowledge is instant, what will we choose to understand? What becomes the most valuable thing to know when comprehension itself can be bought and sold?